So this is a screen recording around how you can install and use Veracrypt to secure information on any external storage, a USB or a hard drive, or any partition or any hard drive, in fact, that is connected to your laptop or desktop. Veracrypt is free to use and install and is freely available on the web. You can download Veracrypt using any browser. Here I'm using Chrome, but if you want, you can use Firefox. And you can just search for Veracrypt on Google, and it usually should give as the first result the Veracrypt homepage, veracrypt.codeplex.com. If you click on it, it'll obviously open the page, and it'll give you two prominent links through which you can download the program. And if you click on download, depending on your computer's connection speed to the internet, it might take a while. I have a good connection, so it took just a few seconds. And once it's downloaded, you can just click on the file to start installing it. So I'm just going to go ahead and close the browser because we don't need that anymore. We've downloaded it. And once you've downloaded it, just to show you what the file looks like, it'll look like something like this, Veracrypt 1.19. Now the version of the file, obviously as new improvements are made, may change, but the functionality of the program should remain the same. So once the file is downloaded, you can start the installation process. Windows will throw up a warning, as it usually does when you try to install a new program, and then the installation routine will begin. You accept the license terms and say next, and then obviously say install. And then the defaults should really be fine. If you say install, it will install all the files necessary for the running of the application onto your Windows installation. Now, I'm running the latest version of Windows, so it might look a bit different depending on the version of Windows you run, particularly if it's XP 7 or 8, but basically the program will work fine on any of these operating systems. And once it's done, it'll say it's done. It will ask you if you want to make a donation. You don't need to. You just say finish, and it'll give you the option of a beginner's tutorial. If you say yes here, it will open up your default browser and take you to a page with a beginner's tutorial, which I would encourage you go through. It's in English. That basically gives you the lowdown on how you can create and access a Veracrypt container. But since this is a screencast, we're going to do it on screen, and you can follow along as well and pause the video such as you see fit, need to in order to follow the steps. So on the desktop here, there's a Veracrypt icon. We double click it, and you have then the home screen of Veracrypt. It's really, really simple. Nothing to get confused or scared about. Now, something to keep in mind is that these drive letters that you see here on my computer will be different to what you see on your computer, and that's perfectly normal. On your computer, for example, it might start from F or H or D, and that's not a problem. That depends on the computer that you're using Veracrypt on. So the first thing that we are going to do is we are going to create an outer volume and a hidden inner volume. And it's really very simple to do this. But one thing to keep in mind is that the outer volume and the inner volume on Veracrypt need or should have two very different passwords. And this is to make sure that if by chance the outer volume's password is compromised or is given out to somebody, that the hidden volume's contents are still secure. So we are going to create both in one go. And the first step to do this is to select the drive letter and say create volume. And this starts the volume creation wizard or tool in Veracrypt. It's self-explanatory, really doesn't require a whole lot of technical knowledge, and we are going to do it ourselves right now. And the first step is you're asking Veracrypt to create an encrypted file container, which is the default in any case. And if you say next, this is where you need to tell Veracrypt that you actually don't just want an outer container, you want a hidden volume as well. So the default is, in this case, the incorrect selection. You just go and enable the hidden Veracrypt volume and then say next. And here the default is fine. It's fine for a person like myself and for many, many users who can't be bothered with the more technical details. So normal mode is the way to go. Then you need to give a location where your outer and inner or hidden volumes are going to be stored at. And this is, quite frankly, anywhere on your computer. You can give it the location of an external drive, a USB drive, any directory on your local hard drives, basically anywhere on your computer. So for the purposes of this demonstration, I'm going to create it on my PC's desktop. And I'm just going to give it a name like Windows temp.dat. Now this is slightly important. You don't want to, for example, call it top security or confidential data, which would immediately give away the fact that it would have sensitive information. Just call it some random name like Windows temp.dat, or say something like paris.jpg, which would disguise it as a very large photograph or image file. So just call it something that you can have plausible deniability around the name of, even if the file was discovered on your computer. So I'm going to say Windows temp.dat, and you can see here that the file name and the location are now in Veracrypt itself. So I just hit next here. And then it will tell me that I'm going to create the outer volume, which is fine, which is what we want to do. So we say next again. And here it will give me some options around the kind of encryption that I want to use. You don't have to really change anything here, and it is in fact highly recommended that you don't change anything. The defaults are perfectly fine. So all you need to do is click next again. And here you need to tell the size of the outer volume. Now this can be in kilobytes, megabytes, gigabytes, or terabytes. But you can see here on my computer, for example, that the maximum file size I can create on my C drive is around 34 or 33 gigabytes. So it's really dependent on the location in which you want to create the container. If, for example, it's an external hard drive, it might be larger. If it's an external USB drive, the available file size might be slightly lower. So for the purposes of this demonstration, I'm just going to create an outer container of 200 megabytes. Something to keep in mind, again, is that the outer container always needs to be larger than your hidden or inner container. It sounds almost common sense to say this, but sometimes people try to create a very large inner container, not having created in the first instance a suitably large outer container. So just keep that in mind. So here I'm going to say 200 megabytes for the purposes of this demonstration, but it's really limited by how much space you have on the drive you want to create the partition on. And once you put the file size in or the partition size in, you click next. And here you give a password. Now I'm just going to give a short password. Obviously the passwords have to match. You can click here if you want to say display password. And I don't recommend any of the other options being enabled. And what Veracrypt will immediately warn you against is the creation of a partition with a password less than 20 characters, which it says quite correctly will not stand the test of a brute force attack. A brute force attack is trying every combination of passwords many millions of times every single second. So if somebody really wanted to get in to your partition with a password that is less than 20 characters, with enough time and with enough computing resources, they probably will be able to do so. So it does throw up this warning. But for the purposes of this demonstration, I'm going to go with a short password, but something to keep in mind. And then it will give you this really interesting screen. Basically, what you have to do is to move the mouse around the screen till this progress bar turns green. And to cut a long story short, this is a way in which Veracrypt makes sure that the way it is encrypting your partition is secure enough. So the more it turns green, obviously, the better the encryption is. Once it's hit green, you can just say format, and then it will start creating the outer partition. Now, something to keep in mind is that the creation of this outer partition is dependent on your computing power. So on older computers, and depending on the size of the partition, it may take a while. A smaller partition on a newer computer will just take a matter of seconds, as you saw, but a larger partition on a somewhat older computer, because it is so mathematically and algorithmically complex, may take a longer time. This is normal, nothing to worry about at all. And you can see here now on my desktop, now I have a Windows temp.dat file, and it's 200 megabytes. That is our Veracrypt outer volume, our outer container. Now, since we want to go ahead and create an hidden or inner container, we go ahead and click on Next. And then Veracrypt will continue with the process of creating the hidden volume. And Windows will throw up probably a warning message saying that Veracrypt wants to make some changes to your computer. Perfectly fine, nothing to get worried about, just click yes. And now it will start the hidden volume wizard, which is as simple as what we just did with the outer volume. And the first step there is to click next. Again, the default encryption is fine, just click next. And here, something to keep in mind, as I mentioned earlier, is that the file size of the hidden or inner partition or volume needs to be always smaller than the outer volume. So since we created a 200 megabyte outer volume, I'm just going to create a 100 megabyte hidden volume size. Once you've done that, click on next. And again, something to keep in mind here is that this password needs to be distinct from the outer volume password. In other words, never ever share the same password for both the outer volume and the inner or hidden volume. And again, just like with the outer volume, if you want, you can click on display password to check your password. And once you're happy with it, again, click next. And just like last time, if it's less than 20 characters, Veracrypt will throw up an error message. In this case, we're just going to say yes. And just like last time, keep moving your mouse till that progress bar goes from red to yellow to green. And the more you use or move your mouse, the better it is. And once it hits green, you just say format. And here, again, depending on the size of the inner partition and depending on the power of the desktop or laptop that you're using it on, it may take a while. But in this case, it took just a few seconds. Once it's done, it will throw up a window. You say OK, then you say next, and then basically you're done. And then if you say exit or get out of the volume creation tool, you'll now have a file on your desktop that's 200 megabytes, which is in this case the size that we created it for, and you'll have the main Veracrypt screen again. Now, we've created the volumes. How do we get access to them? Again, really simple. You just click on the first drive letter, keeping in mind that on your computer, it might be something very different. Not to worry, perfectly normal. But in my computer, it will say it starts with B, so I'm just going to select B, but it can be really any other drive. And then you select the file. Now, in my case, I created my file or my containers on the desktop, but here you navigate to wherever your container was created, and then you say open, and you can see that the file name and the location are now on Veracrypt's screen. This can be any location on your computer or external drive or USB drive. And then you say, really simply, mount. And here, depending on the password that you type in, Veracrypt will open either the hidden or inner or outer container. So what I'm first going to do is I'm going to add the password to the outer container. And if I say OK, it may take a while for Veracrypt to open it, again, depending on the power of your computer and the size of the outer container's partition. But you can see here that once it's mounted, it tells me what the size of the outer container is, in this case around 200 megabytes. And if I double click it, you can see that it just opens up like any other USB external drive or Windows directory. It's a Windows Explorer. You can copy, paste, you can do whatever you do with a normal directory or drive with this Veracrypt container. And once you've done what you have to do, which is to copy a file or to create a file or to put something in here or delete something. You just say on the Veracrypt screen dismount, and that partition is gone. You can only open it up again by clicking the file and adding your outer volume password. Now, say for example, you needed to open the hidden volume, and the process is exactly the same. I'm just going to select the file again, even though it's pre-selected on my screen. I go to where the location of the file is, wherever it is on my computer or external drive or USB drive. I click on open, I click on mount, and here I give the inner or hidden volumes password. I click OK, and again, depending on the power of the computer and the size of the partition, Veracrypt may take a while to open the hidden volume. And in my experience, hidden volumes take slightly longer on Veracrypt to open because the complexity of the opening process may be slightly greater than the outer volume. But on a modern computer, this should not take more than a minute at most. And here you can see now that my inner volume or hidden volume is now mounted, and it's 100 megabytes as opposed to the 200 megabytes for the outer volume. And again, double clicking it opens it up just like any other directory, USB drive or hard drive. I can do whatever I want with this folder. And once I've done that, I just close it. I close Windows Explorer and I say dismount, and that's it. Everything that is in the hidden and outer volumes is contained within this one file, on this case, the desktop, which is a 200 megabyte file. And opening the outer volume does not give any indication as to what the contents are of the hidden volume, or even, and this is where it's quite special, that there is a hidden volume. So opening up the outer container gives no indication that there is a hidden container within that container. And that really is Veracrypt. You can create any number of these volumes as you want on your computer or external hard drive or USB drive. And to mount them, all you need to do is to select the location and then click on mount, and then enter here the password that you want to open the container of. If it's an outer container, you give the outer container password. If it's an inner container or a hidden partition, you give the corresponding password. And that really is all there is to it. Once you've done what you have to do, you close the program. And here, since it's on the desktop, it will remain on the desktop. But if you want, you can delete the file, you can copy this file to some other location, or if you really are in a rush and you want to get rid of it, you put it in the recycle bin and you can delete all traces of it if you empty it subsequently. And that concludes our screencast of using Veracrypt to create an outer container and a hidden container or hidden volume anywhere on your computer that you can then use to securely store your most sensitive data in a fully encrypted manner that is impervious to attempts to access without the corresponding passwords.